be positive. Gonna be positive. It's fine. It's fine. We don't live lives that can be torpedoed by unforeseen events. That is the thing. Is that we do not. We are in a trench World War I warfare situation where to maintain the status quo is the best you can hope for. And when the enemy flies over and drops grenades on you in their biplanes, it upsets everything. You can't have that.
We're going to make Shattuck's great again.
Okay. When are we great?
Tommy, New Hampshire wants to know if you need a hug.
I do not need a hug whatsoever. I did see Tim Walz. Did see Tim Walz, your Himalayan salt life need to be on, 2 days ago, wave like a seal, and Seal meets Liberace meets Jim J. Bullock, and then dash over and shake the hand of a woman he introduced, and then hugged her husband. And I think that's absolute. The whole winning men thing is in excellent form, I think. Now they've moved off of that. That's over now. They can't win men because everybody they try to win men with is gay.
Or a child or otherwise not helpful.
Right. And so they're out, that's over now. So now the new thing is that Donald Trump is old and tired and is hiding.
Right. Which is, I mean, I used to be fond of saying on this show, I think we had a whole episode named this, that with everything with the left is projection. But that is going a little far, even for them.
Right.
Like that level of projection is new.
So, yeah, so they're just starting just totally new narratives. And why not? We'll just see if this works. With Kamala, being attitudinal and then saying, well, I think it's funny that Donald Trump is hiding. And people don't want him to be out in the open. They're hiding him.
He can't do interviews.
So they're going with this.
He's hiding. And then they also are trying to go with, I guess they saw the success of for the right of the videos of Biden looking lost and confused back earlier in the year.
Yes.
So when somebody had a medical event at Trump's rally and had to leave in an ambulance and Trump paused the rally for 45 minutes and played music, they're claiming that this is Trump being lost and confused on stage and just lost his mind. Even though this has now been fact-checked by every left-wing organization, and they're like, no, there was a medical event at the rally. They paused the rally for this for like 45 minutes. They just played music while they dealt with this issue at the rally.
Exactly.
And they're like pretending like this is a thing. Imagine if Kamala was this lost and confused.
And they're all in on this, even though
Kamala tweeted out, hope he's okay.
Yep.
Donald Trump's town hall last night turned into this.
Put on Pavarotti singing Ave Maria. Nice and loud. Turn it up louder. We want a little action here.
It's good rendition.
Let's not do any more questions.
He's dancing now.
We could do another question or two if you'd like, but probably. Do you want to do one? Let's go. But it ends so beautifully. How about this? We'll play YMCA and we'll go home.
November Rain, Guns N' Roses.
So they're
what
pretending.
You just saw was 43 seconds. That went on for 38 minutes. Kamala Harris's response, hope he's okay. Here with me is a fabulous group of reporters. CNN's David Chalian, Politico's Meredith.
Now, the record show as well is that she said that even though two people were in medical duress.
Right. This is a joke to them, even though like this was a medical event for somebody. And Trump handled it really. I mean, like it's a nice way to handle it, to be honest with you. Mark says in the chat, it worked to say Joe was senile and Kamala was hiding, so Dems figured it was worth trying on Trump.
Yes.
They're doing
and
it.
The host of The Don Lemon Show and the author of the new book, I Once Was Lost, My Search for God in America, our friend Don Lemon. Nice to see you back.
Good to see you. Thank you
think
for
that's a good book?
No.
having me.
David Chalian, I'm going to start with you because there's a lot of
dance moves.
Actually, you do have very good dance moves.
His knowledge of Sinatra and what was it, Ave Maria?
And YMCA.
And YMCA.
Yeah. But in addition to that, David Chalian, your political brain, on what we saw there, because there are a lot of ways to look at it, and it really depends on who you ask. Let's just start with Team Trump. They argue, well, he can have fun. Well, there is joy there. And then Team Harris, he's completely lost it. And I'll get to the second part in a minute. But, he was supposed to be taking questions. He then went off into whatever that was.
After there were a couple of medical incidents in the crowd in a very
People fainted.
hot
just
environment. And people fainted, exactly. And so he sort of pivoted the event. I mean, obviously, let's be clear. That's not normal behavior for a candidate, right? Like, we've not seen that. And I think you can find people that have covered Donald Trump, have gone to more than 100 Donald Trump rallies. They've never seen that. So
Yeah, because that's not his MO, is to call off the rally and play music. That's not a normal Trump. It happened because there was a medical emergency and they paused the event for it.
But he does dance.
And have fun.
Yes, and that's exactly what they're doing. And the reporters who were there were saying that was happening. But they're all...
That, here we are 3 weeks out from an election, and he's doing something that he's never done before, and that is clearly different than what presidential candidates normally do. That doesn't... I don't want to then add on a sentence of, therefore, this is like going to destroy his chances of winning the presidency. That's clearly not the case here. It does make you just scratch your head about, like, what's going on with Donald Trump that he is feeling himself differently in public or canceling interviews, or he is,
which he did today.
Yeah, exactly. So he is not
Okay.
Well, no, we don't know that, but he is not sort of following some programmatic script here, right? He seems to be having some different sensibility about what it is he wants to do. It reminds me when he was talking about how he does the weave when he's so incoherent, and he comes up with a name to sort of label what that is when he's totally incoherent. And I just think that, again, I don't know. We have no idea if he's okay or not because he doesn't release his medical records.
Yeah, right. I
So-
don't.
Is the other
I don't
part.
think that's
Nice
what
new
happened
fake
that
narrative
way.
that they've
and
come
on
out
that
with,
note,
too.
this is definitely the pursuit of the Harris campaign this morning. They sent out a doctor's note from 230 plus doctors and health providers saying the American people deserve to have confidence in their elected officials' mental and physical capacity to do the jobs they've elected them to do. Trump ought to be above and beyond, to be going above and beyond to provide transparency.
Thank
on
you,
his
medical
physical
experts.
Yeah.
By the way, the plagiarism expert that the New York Times cited yesterday when they said that the mistakes were minor came
Yes.
out on Twitter immediately after the article came out and said, whoa, I have not looked at this whole book and evaluated it for plagiarism. They just showed me a couple of passages and asked me about it. I haven't seen the whole thing.
By the
I
way-
have not weighed in. So they completely misrepresented what the plagiarism expert said, too.
By the way, how is the credibility of the healthcare industry bureaucracy doing? 250 of us said that he should release his documents.
Dr. Fauci
Him
and
releasing his medical records is a political move.
Right.
It is not a medicinal move. It's not their lane. Nope, we wear lab coats. Yo, fuck you people.
By the way, I mean, obviously, you can't. They're beyond shame at this point or embarrassment at their own hypocrisy. But a few months ago, they were telling us that it was totally irresponsible to armchair diagnose Joe Biden with anything if you're not his doctor. You don't know. How dare anybody suggest that anything could be wrong? This is ridiculous. His doctor says he's in perfectly fine health. That's great. How dare any of you question this? What do you think? You're some expert in Parkinson's. He was a super ager. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Like, and he's
His
just on fire
his
and
doctor
brilliant.
gave us an absolute brilliant and wonderful review of his health. And said he was absolutely. So every medical officer that comes in front of a microphone is destroying the credibility of this field. These people are
Right.
freaking activists.
Just let people
They're-
judge for
and
themselves
also,
like they did.
Remember, the mass hysteria caused by Donald Trump becoming president, being president, is no group is exempt from it. So all the doctors are nuts, or a lot of them. The psychologists are nuts, a lot of them. A lot of the military brass is nuts. Like everybody was affected by this.
Oh, do you have that
FBI
one, by the way? The Brian Stelter talking about Mark Milley. I sent us that earlier.
Yeah.
That's such a great cut because they've finally discovered that the reason why people keep voting for Donald Trump is that people, like the type of people who watch Fox News, haven't heard any bad stuff about Trump yet.
Right. Let me see if I can.
They haven't been exposed to that. That's why Brian Stelter's using this opportunity to tell us that it's so brilliant of Kamala Harris to go on Bret Baier tomorrow, because she's going to be able to say all this stuff to the Fox News audience who will never have heard anyone tell them that Mark Milley says Trump's a fascist. If there's one thing I know about Fox News viewers, it's that they've never heard that Mark Milley thinks Trump is dangerous or anything else.
Mark Milley, Trump's former Joint Chiefs chairman, is using Bob Woodward to send a message, and it's a chilling message. On page 179 of this book. You know, part of the quote has been publicized in recent days. People have been talking about it. Milley calling Trump a fascist to the core. The other part of the quote's also really striking. Milley also says to Woodward, "We have got to stop him. You have got to stop him." Woodward says that the "you" is referring to the American press writ large. To have the former Joint Chiefs chairman calling the former president and wannabe next president a fascist is front page news. And I'm glad it's been treated that way in the last few days. We have to talk seriously in this country about what fascism is and what it means to have Milley making this warning. It'll be interesting to see, by the way, if Milley does TV interviews or does other press, because so far he's only using Woodward to get this message out.
So a couple of things on that. One, Milley should be in jail. And two, a fascist to his core shows you that he's a psychotic bitch. Milley is. And that makes no sense. He's not a fascist. He's not a fascist.
Especially not to his core.
No.
He's not even a little bit a fascist.
No. And Mark Milley is the same guy, of course, who one said it was a good kill when they blew the shit out of an Afghan family and out of reprisals for them letting Americans get killed at Abbey Gate. But also, he's the guy who, while Donald Trump was still president, was assuring the Chinese that nothing would happen. He could intervene. Mm-hmm. This guy he should be in front of our firing squad, Milley. Give me a freaking break.
Yeah, and by the way, Trump people all know Mark Milley.
And like we said,
it's not a lack of exposure to Mark Milley that makes Trump people like them. It's not like all the Fox News viewers are like, "Whoa, I thought everyone thought Trump was great, but now Mark Milley says he's a fascist."
Right.
No, I'm done. It's just like the Cheney voter who's going to be swayed by that. Or today they paraded out Karl Rove, and we're like, guys, Karl Rove says, like, really? Karl Rove says we have to vote for Kamala Harris now? Like, do you know anyone
He's in
who
uniform.
cares?
The stupid Republicans love them.
Do you know anyone who cares what Karl Rove or Mark Milley thinks about Kamala
Certainly not
Harris
Mark
or
Milley.
Donald Trump?
But Karl Rove, that's a tough one. Because
No, but I mean, like, are you going to change your vote? Because you're like, wow, but Karl Rove says.
No. For Milley, that's perfect. That's what
that?
he should be saying. And that's why, obviously, nobody would... Mark Milley has no... It's ridiculous. And it just shows... Stelter is the media guy? Is everybody a stupid fuck in that place? Really?
I mean, they hired him back. That's what passes for media analysis. Just the fact that he stood there seriously with a cup of coffee and nodded as though Michael Avenatti was going to be president as he was making stuff up about Brett Kavanaugh was like, I mean, these are the most unserious people on the planet.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump went today, as he's been busy doing public campaigning, rallies, etc., going around, talking to podcasters, being freewheeling. He went today and talked to the Bloomberg News editor for the Economic Club of Chicago and had a back and forth. And this is something Kamala Harris would never do. And Trump was absolutely freaking fantastic at this thing today. He was fantastic. This is deep dive this is deep dive on politics.
Yeah. With people who don't like Trump, by the way, because these are traditional, like, moderate businessy neoliberals. They don't want tariffs. They're pro-immigration. This is like the Hillary Clinton, Mitt Romney, moderate. wing
Exactly.
of the-
But Trump stole this crowd from this English prick.
You're also talking about 20% tariffs on the rest of the world. That is going to have a serious effect on the overall economy. And yes, you're going to find some people who will gain from individual tariffs. The overall effect could be massive in terms of the
I
economy.
agree it's going to have a massive effect, positive effect. It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Well, just
let me just let me
Give me
I
an
know
example.
how committed you are to this, and it must be hard for you to spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong. It'll have a negative. It will have. I'll go a step further.
40
if
million,
you don't
40
do
million,
this,
President
this
Trump,
country
40
has
million,
no
40
chance.
million jobs is a lot of jobs to rely on
They're
trade.
all coming back.
Those
You've
40 million
lost.
jobs. Those are 40 million jobs in America that rely on
Are
trade.
you ready? John Deere, great company. They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? They're going to build them in Mexico.
And you threatened
They're
them with
also going
tariffs
to build.
and they stopped.
That's right. I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay? I kept the jobs here.
So now, I don't even agree with Trump on the substance. I also don't think that the president should be threatening American businesses. That said, it's a matter of winning this room and the politics of it, and that he wasn't taking anything from this English guy. He shut him up a couple of times, and it was. Can you imagine?
You're also talking about 10,
Kamala
20
Harris would have handled this. It would have been.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about
You're trying to turn this. You're trying to turn this.
You've been wrong about
No, you're trying to turn this into debate. There are
It's
business
not a debate.
people. There
No,
are
but
business
you're wrong.
people.
You've been wrong all your life on this stuff. What?
That is Trump having the audacity to go in and slap this guy in his very extremely effete forum
Right.
and say, no.
Not take it seriously.
Not take it seriously. This is not about you. This is about me. And the audience loved it. Because you know what's freaking a sucky experience, Alice?
Bloomberg.
An
forum.
economic forum. Exactly. It absolutely sucks.
Our steel companies, as you know, 3-4 years ago, they were all when I was in office, I saw a man from a big steel company, and he was devastated. I knew him for a long time, and it's been a tough business. It was a great business.
By the way, this is also so smart of Trump to, and this is like thinking on his feet. I wish he was thinking on his feet like this during the debate, but this is so smart of him to retool every question, because this guy is asking about the fundamentals of economics. Trump is using anecdotes, making it personal. That is great.
Business many years ago.
Like Kamala was invited to this, said no.
Well, of course.
And I would not let U.S. steel be sold to Japanese, by the way. It's psychologically, I think it would be.
That's the Nippon steel, as you know.
Yeah, I
Keep
wouldn't
going.
I wouldn't let it be sold. But I would, I would.
Even that, I wouldn't be let it sold to the Japanese. It's just psychologically, that's Nippon steel. Like, no. We know what he's saying. We're not letting it stay in America. It's America. This guy's America first. He believes in nationalism. It's U.S. Steel. It's Andrew Carnegie's U.S. Steel. It stays right here as U.S. Steel. Now, I have heard very reasonable people say that this is a good deal for U.S. Steel if it was absorbed. But Trump is saying stuff in the spirit of America first. And that is freaking great.
He's also having a good time. He's
Yes, he is.
entertainment.
Oh, that's
You were
another
watching
thing.
the professional wrestling thing the other night with
Vince McMahon, yeah.
Vince McMahon in it, and like
Yes, it was.
he's having a good time here.
Well, not only is he having a good time, but by all reports, he swayed the room. He charmed the room,
Right.
and that is a huge gift, a huge talent.
Stop it if it hasn't been completed by the time I'm president, because I think it sets a horrible tone. But I had a lot to do with steel. We were going to lose all our steel companies because China, as you remember, was dumping steel at levels that nobody's ever seen before. And I put a 50% tax on that and a tariff on that, all dumped steel. And it was also bad steel. It was what they call dirty steel. It wasn't good steel, which is a bad thing for structural components of buildings and planes and things like that.
I begged him to give me this specificity when we talked to him at the Herald 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does it take to build a building? I wanted this stuff. Now you're hearing it. Like, it's bad.
Well, yeah.
still.
And Mark says in the chat, what does a multi-billionaire businessman know about economics compared to like, he has a lot of stuff in his head. He gets distracted easily.
Yes.
This guy didn't goad him about his crowd sizes. So
You're right.
he stayed
But he knows
on
about
point.
steel because steel has been a pain in the ass for him.
Right, because he knows about stuff like this. He knows about red tape for businesses. Can you unbutton that fellow's top button right there? He knows about what it takes to get buildings built and the red tape that gets in the way and the way governments get in the way and dealing with Chinese companies that are selling bad steel and this and that. And like, he obviously, and you could get a sense of this in the Elon Musk interview he did on Twitter too, which I think this is why I hope he really actually does do Rogan. Word is Kamala is trying to get on Rogan too, which I also really hope happens. But you got a sense of this with him and Elon Musk. He's a guy who likes talking about stuff. He's interested in things. The reason Kamala can't talk about anything to anybody is because she has zero intellectual curiosity about anything. She's like, I love Venn diagrams. That's as far as she got in school was Venn diagrams. And she's worked now in government her whole life. She brags that the only client she's had is the people, right? Like, she's never had to be in a job where she had to get a building built or a container ship delivered of something or whatever it is. Like, she never had to deal with anything. So she didn't, and this is fundamentally what's wrong with like a lot of people in government, right? This is why the Obamacare website, like, they just didn't really build it and were because nobody there has ever been in a job where they had to like actually make something go. And they just don't know how any of it works. You can tell Donald Trump cares about this stuff because he's actually had to get buildings made. And like, it was funny. So we were talking in our family about the Elon Musk like rocket stuff today with the thing grabbing the thing out of the air. And it's like, there's something, and I know Elon Musk talks about being like a little bit autistic. And I think Trump has some of the same sort of thing where he doesn't have whatever filter you're supposed to have that tells you stuff is impossible or you can't do X or you can't say X or whatever it is. And like the world and civilization is built by people who figure out how to do stuff or say stuff or get stuff done or go be president or whatever and don't really care if you tell them they can't do it. You can't do it like that. You can't run your campaign like that. You're not allowed to say that. You can't just build a company. You can't just send things to Mars. That's crazy. You can't do that. You can't catch a rocket ship out of the air with little robot arms. Like, I mean, until you just decide to, and then apparently you just do. I mean, the Cybertruck was, I believe, I just read this, was the #1 selling electric car in the U.S. And I don't know, I forget if it was like last month or this year or what it was. And then like the other Tesla cars came in next. Like, these liberals hate him, but they can't get away from it because he just makes good stuff.
Yes.
You know, and it's incredible to me, like, people just deciding to do stuff make things go. And Kamala has no idea what makes anything go. Like, a bunch of people have called her out about the small business tax credit thing. Do you know what that is? It's not even like, it's a tax deduction. It's not even a tax credit. So it's like you can write off $50,000 of business expenses off your first, like, or off of
like
whatever.
Your first 400 grand you put in or whatever.
It's not a small business thing. It just sort of sounds good. It's not $50,000 to people. Then did you read the thing she put out today about the black men? I thought this was parody at first.
Well, yeah. Well, let me finish this first.
Let's hear.
And we're going to get to some.
I do want to do the black men thing
in Charlemagne and all that.
A bad thing for structural components of buildings and planes and things like that. They were dumping crap into our country. And I put a 50% tariff. I started at 25. I raised it to 50 because the 25 didn't quite do it.
You know what this is? You know what this is? Holy crap. I can't believe I thought of this.
Mick said in the chat, by the way, that he works for an aerospace manufacturing company and they're not allowed to use foreign materials. And like Tommy, New Hampshire says, you can't, you need to be able to trace this stuff to its origin, and it's not possible in China. Like,
Oh my goodness, Alice.
What?
I have had
An Epiphone?
an Epiphone.
Okay.
You know what this is?
What is this?
This is 1986. The movie Back to School.
Mm-hmm.
With the professor trying to explain to Thornton Melon how business works. But Thornton's in business. The professor just talks about
Jump right in with both feet.
Listen to this. Listen to this. This is who Trump is. He's Thornton Melon, dude. That's who he is. He's Thornton Melon. So listen to the professor tell the class how business works, and then Thornton Melon's response.
All right, settle down, people. We've got a lot to cover, and time is short. There are two kinds of people in business today, the quick and the dead. So rather than waste your time this semester with a lot of useless theories, we're going to jump right in with both feet and create a fictional company from the ground up. We'll construct our physical plant. We'll set up an efficient administrative and executive structure. Then we'll manufacture our product and market it. I think you'll find it very interesting and a lot of fun. So let's start by looking at construction costs of our new factory.
What's the product?
That is immaterial for the purposes of our discussion here.
That's Trump.
But if it makes you happy, let's say we're making tape recorders.
Tape recorders? Are you kidding? The Japs will kill us on a labor course.
Okay, fine. Then let's just say they're widgets.
What's a widget?
It's a fictional product. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Tell that to the bank, you know.
Take it easy. It's the first day, you know.
On the board, you will see a cost analysis for construction of a 30,000 square foot facility, which will encompass both factory and office space, and is fully serviced by all utilities, a railroad spur line, and a 4-bay shipping dock.
Hold it. Why build? Hey, you're better off leasing at $1.25, $1.50 a square foot. Take your down payment and put it into CDs, or something else you can roll over every couple of months.
Thank you, Mr. Mellon. But we'll be concentrating on finance a little later in the term. For the time being, let's just concentrate on the construction figures, shall we? You will see the final bottom line requires the factoring in of not just the material and construction costs, but also the architect's fees and the costs of land servicing.
Oh, you left out a bunch of stuff.
Oh, really? Like what, for instance?
Well, first of all, you're going to have to grease the local politicians for the sudden zoning problems that always come up. Then there's the kickbacks to the carpenters. And if you plan on using any cement in this building, I'm sure the Teamsters like to have a little chat with you, and that'll cost you. Oh, and don't forget a little something for the building inspectors. Then there's a long-term cost, such as waste disposal. I don't know if you're familiar with who runs that business, but I assure you it's not the Boy Scouts.
That'll be quite enough, Mr. Mellon. Maybe bribes and kickbacks and mafia payoffs are how you do business. But they are not part of the legitimate business world. And they're certainly not part of anything I'm teaching in this class. Do I make myself clear?
Sorry, just trying to help, that's all.
Now, notwithstanding Mr. Mellon's input, the next question for us is where to build our factory.
How about Fantasyland?
There you go. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, Trump knows because he does it.
Right.
His economics is ground level. It's not academic level, and it's not the Chicago Economic Forum level.
Right.
It's pragmatic. That's how you do it. That's how you talk when you do it. That's how you do things. That's how you negotiate. And you negotiate because you can negotiate with people. That's what he does. Come out with deals, which is why he respects groups of people, even though it's politically incorrect to do so.
Right. Which is like what they always are telling us. Like, he loves dictators.
And
he
by
loves
the way,
this, he loves that.
like Thornton Melon, Trump tonight, in that earlier thing talking about steel, talking about you don't get it from Japanese. And the other guys, the British guy says, you mean the Nippon? You know, because you don't speak like that. Oh my goodness. This might be my finest moment, Els.
Brilliant.
I mean, there's a lot of good moments out there. Okay. So do we want to hear more from this guy on steel, or should we go
I think people get the idea of the Trump thing. I do want to You should cue out the Breakfast Club because Kamala Harris is making a big play for black male voters. They've found out that they have a problem with black male voters, so she's put out a whole plan now on how to, on all the things she's gonna do.
My question to you is, what's your stance on reparations? We all know that America became great, off the backs of free black labor. How progressive are you on making it a priority and righting America's wrongs? It's understood that you are running for president for all people of America. Asking for specifics for black communities doesn't mean don't do for others, but black Americans are heavily asked to vote Democrat in every election for over half a century with very little in return. What are your plans to address these very important issues and change that narrative?
I like, by the way, how she has to swallow that premise. We're asked for the votes with very little in return. Yeah. We've been screwing you.
Did you see the thing that they put out, the list of things they're doing for black people?
Yes.
You want me to read that before they get into reparations?
Blacks want to get high.
So they're providing $1 million loans that are fully forgivable up to $20,000 for black entrepreneurs and others to start a business. This is, I believe, taken from the playbook of PPP loans, the forgivable loans to start a business, which is interesting because the PPP loans have become a bit of a joke in certain internet circles about the types of people that were getting and forgiving PPP loans. There's a lot of one-person sole proprietorship businesses that got forgiven big PPP loans for their small one-person businesses during COVID that, that did very, very well. There has not been a lot of investigation of PPP loan fraud. So it's interesting that she's doing that because, not to put too fine a point on it, but there's a bunch of internet racists out there claiming that it's that's all what it is, that it's the new welfare queen narrative, right? So it's funny that she would put that as her number one policy agenda for black people. Support education, training, and mentorship programs that lead to good-paying jobs for black men, including pathways to becoming teachers. Protect cryptocurrency investments so black men who make them know their money is safe. That's a bizarre what? Launch a
in other words, put bullet points out and say black men.
Launch a national health initiative focused on illnesses that disproportionately impact black men.
But wasn't there a time when there was nuance to how you'd say this stuff?
Legalize recreational marijuana and create opportunities for black Americans to succeed in this new industry.
They like weed.
Weed and PPP loans.
We have money
That's
for
what
rap.
black people want.
We have money for rap. Okay?
Is that really, it's kind of embarrassing, actually.
Well, of course it's kind of embarrassing. It's so freaking pandering and, insulting. Give them weed. I've seen them have weed. Hello?
Pepper's running in her sleep.
It's funny because really all you're doing is trying to use a brick-by-brick approach to reassemble the Trump economy.
Well, right. It's you liked how under Trump things were going better for you? I'll do that. But people know that stuff was going better for them under Trump.
Well, right.
And the other problem for Kamala is the Tulsi Gabbard thing, which is Trump passed the First Step Act, and Kamala Harris is a cop who loved throwing black people in jail.
Yes.
So, I don't know how you square that circle.
Should we get to her answer?
Sure. Let's go to reparations with Kamala.
Thank you, Zeke.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for your work. So, to your point, yes, I am running to be a president for all Americans. That being said, I do have clear eyes about the disparities.
Here we go. I didn't know she'd take the dive so easily, so quickly. Once you get to clear eyes, and we're in, word cloud land here.
The other thing is, this is not... I'm so excited for the Brett Baier interview. This is not a hard-hitting policy interview.
No.
This is morning FM radio to a friendly audience.
Well, yes. These people don't know much about politics.
That exist. and the context in which they exist, meaning history, to your point.
Meaning history, to your
So
point.
my agenda, well, first of all, on the point of reparations, it has to be studied. There's no question about that. And I've been very clear about that position.
Has it not been studied?
It has to be studied.
I think it's been studied.
People have studied it.
We're going to study it for you, and then we're not going to do anything for you.
In terms of my immediate plan, I will tell you a few of the following.
By the way, since she's somebody who has already said that she's pro-reparations...
She's pro-studying reparations.
Well, no, she's already said, years ago, she said in 2020 that she's pro-reparations. Didn't she already study it? She's pro. So the studying is not needed. We've already come to the conclusion.
Very clear about that position. In terms of my immediate plan, I will tell you a few of the following. One, as it relates to the economy, which is a lot of what you have addressed. Look, I grew up in the middle class. My mother, worked hard, raised me and my sister.
You can't do the meme.
By the time I was in high school, she was able to afford our first.
Oh.
Does she think anybody in America hasn't heard that now at this point?
It's funny.
SNL did this as a joke. I don't think we played that, the last couple days either. But yeah, they did Kamala Harris playing Family Feud, and they asked, what do people have in their glove box? And she goes, well, I grew up in a middle-class family, and this has now reached cultural escape velocity. Everyone has heard her say she grew up in a middle-class family. You can't do that now.
Right. Can I get to two other cuts I just want to hit?
Yeah, sure.
There's some other podcast now talking to Doug Emhoff. Tell me how much LA pussy Doug Emhoff is.
You said that communication is key, but she couldn't communicate with you immediately to tell you that Joe Biden had stepped down, correct? You were busy in spin class, right?
That was right. So it was, I was in LA. It was during that weekend when all the planes were down because of the software glitch. So I had to spend an extra day in LA. I decided to go to a cycling class with some friends, and it was an hour class, and we were just chit-chatting. I had my phone in the Secret Service car, so I didn't have my phone. And then my friend's partner just showed me his phone with the letter.
How LA is this? His spin class with some friends.
From President Biden, and I'm like, gotta go, and just ran into the car, and there was my phone, literally, you could feel the steam, 7 or 8 messages, all with, where are you? Call Kamala, and it was a 1 minute or less conversation, which started with, where the F were you?
The follow-up question from the podcaster is even better.
Need you right now, and basically get to work. And I did.
You run out sweaty? Are you wearing the tight biking shorts? Do you have those clackety-clack spikes on, the whole thing? Or
I try not to do the tight biking shorts, so I just do the long old school, Nike basketball shorts, which probably aren't great for spin class. But I was drenched in sweat.
LA coffee enema fucking weirdos. They really are.
Took the clackety-clack shoes off, but the car wasn't exactly on the curb, so it was still a couple of 100 yards of old.
The other one I wanted to is Tim Walz. Speaking of masculine, man, here's Tim Walz talking. They're now dunking on the Trump ticket. And Tim Walz, he's now wearing a checkered red, they call it a hunter red. It's the last one we have. Shirt. What would you call that shirt? It was very are you looking?
Mm-hmm.
What do you call that shirt?
Like a buffalo plaid?
Is it? Okay. So it's really what people would wear in the 90s, the red, and then he's got his hat on. He's no longer wearing a suit like he's running for vice president. He's just really masculine. Totally masculine. Here's him dunking on Vance.
And Senator Vance, he became a media darling. He wrote a book about the place he grew up, but the premise was trashing that place where he grew up rather than lifting it up. This guy's a venture capitalist cosplaying like he's a cowboy or something. I don't even know what a venture capitalist does most of the time. And Senator...
Okay.
First of all, he knows what cosplay is, but not what venture capitalism is.
Yeah, because his whole life is cosplaying. Yeah, Mind
Just
your
your
own.
regular old grandpa. Why is he cosplaying over there?
I'm gonna make a very boring taco salad. Okay, Grandpa. You know, it's like whatever you say, Grandpa.
Mind your own damn business.
Okay, chat time, Albie.
All right.
Does that work for you?
It works for me. I didn't even listen to yesterday's chat yet. We've been so busy. Anyway, brought to us by Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce.
Hopefully we
Chelsea
keep
Fire
the peace.
Wicked
There's only
Hotline.
2 messages. We'll keep the peace in this one.
So I'm not sure who that person is the other day who called me obnoxious, but I'll tell you what, sir, you haven't seen anything yet. And Steve from Merrimack especially hasn't seen anything yet.
Oh, my goodness.
Because the heat is going to be turned way
Holy
up
hell.
on him to the point
Funny, I just watched the Vince McMahon thing. He sounds like one of the wrestlers.
where he's going to go before I am. And to everybody out there, I only got one thing to say.
I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving!
Is that Dog Day Afternoon?
The show goes on!
I'm not sure. I think there might be Dog Day Afternoon with Pacino.
Hey, Crocodile Dundee in Australia.
Oh, wow.
I'm really not sure why you would come riding in on your kangaroo, trying to save the day like you're John Wayne when it comes to Steve from Merrimack. But I'm glad you left a message because I'm now going to change the way that I leave messages on the burn barrel moving forward. Every time Steve from Merrimack leaves a message, I'm going to respond to it. I'm going to question it. I'm going to critique it. Even if it means I have to be fake, like you insinuate, and take the position of a Democrat. That's what I'm going to do. And I'll keep this going for years.
Wow.
Because my goal is to have Steve from Merrimack not leave messages on the burn barrel anymore because I find him obnoxious.
Wow.
Now, if Steve from Merrimack doesn't leave a message, you won't hear from me. So while you're on your high kangaroo and you feel all important, maybe you and others should encourage Steve from Merrimack to not leave messages anymore.
Wow.
Because then you won't hear my voice, and it will be a win-win for everybody. So the ball is in your court, Crocodile Dundee, and it's also in Steve from Merrimack's court. If you don't want to hear from me anymore, have him not leave messages. Thank you.
So this is an internecine conflict. What does internecine mean? Internecine. What does
Doesn't
that mean?
it mean like internal?
Does it? Okay, then it's not that kind
Like
of conflict.
within a family, kind of?
No.
Or- yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe it is, actually. Then. Good, thank
It's
you.
an inter-Steve conflict.
It's very interesting to see. I'm not sure who this world war. Now it's 2 continents, so it's a world war, certainly. But that's a shot at Jamie and the Aussies, and now obviously Steve from Merrimack. I mean, this is. I don't even know how to. We've lost the peace, Ellis. We've lost the peace.
Oh, apparently means destructive to both sides.
There we go.
Yeah. Is that what you were looking for?
That's just muscle memory because I wasn't sure what it meant, but I knew it felt right to use it in my drop-down box in my mind.
Okay. Okay, destructive to both sides. It does seem like the chat has gotten destructive to both sides, but it seems to make people happy, so I'll get out of the way and let the Steves do their thing. Anyway, if you like listening to the podcast, please feel free to leave a review wherever you like to listen, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those places. Burnbarrelpodcast.com.